Cinder de la Doom summons the Shadow Fiends. Chapter 7. Within seconds, Cinder's hair was plastered against her skull, and the makeup ringing her eyes streaked down her cheeks like black tears. Her morning dress absorbed the cold rain, chilling her to the core as the saturated garment grew heavier. Cinder dashed across her yard, and her boots kicked up little geysers of mud as her thoughts scrambled for purchase in an avalanche of emotion, fighting through nauseating terror, through guilt and self-disgust, scrambling after a thread of logic. Cinder de la Doom ran blindly into the night. Just before Deputy Henrik's accident, she'd noticed how the Shadow Fiends had completely disappeared when lightning lit up the town. And during the attack, she'd been able to see the officer each time the lights strobed. Only complete darkness revealed his assailants. Did that mean they needed it to exist? When there was light, were they simply invisible? Or were they no longer there? The young girl had little time to ponder such questions. From Doe Lane, a collective screech cut through the sounds of the storm. Like 1,000 tortured hawks bursting through the gates of hell, the cacophony echoed off the buildings as the horde rushed forward en masse. Earlier, Cinder had imagined being chased by something malevolent as she fled the cemetery. Now, however, she could feel the difference between imagination and reality. It was as if the creatures behind her were somehow sucking the heat from her body. She could feel it streaming out of her pores, an icy chill originating deep within her core before and working its way out. A joke shared over a juice box, laughter, sunshine, and a wagging puppy dog tails, all things warm and cozy, were pulled from the young girl's soul as the Shadow Fiends closed ground. She knew she'd never make it in an all-out foot race. Those things possessed speed which contradicted the laws of nature. Within seconds, they would overtake her completely, stripping away everything which made life worth living. The fraction of a second in those cold, dismal halls of suffering would seem an eternity, and death a welcome friend, as the Shadow Fiends ripped the flesh from her body. So she did the first thing she could think of. Cinder grabbed the door handle of a mud-encrusted pickup truck, praying that it wouldn't be locked. Wrenching it open, she dove into the front seat while simultaneously pawing at the sun visor over the wheel. A set of keys sparkled as they fell into the young girl's hand, and she wasted no time slotting one into the ignition. She had never really started a car before, but had seen her mother and father do it countless times. Scrambling upright, Cinder stretched her foot toward the brake pedal while her fingers were poised, ready to crank the engine to life. But she froze. The Shadow Fiends had circled the truck completely, forming a wall of featureless bodies. They lurked in silent menace as the wind drove the rain in diagonal slashes, not making a move toward the little girl, but allowing her to sense their intent. Chills crept in waves over her neck and arms, and her teeth chattered like one of the wind-up novelty gags her little brother was crazy about. Cinder knew she was only seconds from death. The shadows wouldn't taunt her indefinitely. Sooner or later, they'd rush in to claim their prize, and maybe then, just maybe, the portal would close. Perhaps her death could send the creatures back to wherever she'd summoned them from. Maybe her sacrifice would save everyone. It has to, doesn't it? Cinder whispered to her reflection in the mirror. I mean, what other options do I got? Wilhelmina had told her that death really wasn't that much different than life. It was simply a changing of states, a new environment. But then again, Wilhelmina was an executed witch and known liar. What are they waiting for? Why don't they just get... Cinder's words trailed off as her eyes lifted toward the roof of the truck. She shook her head slowly as relief washed through her body, giggling out one of her favorite interjections. Holy Redeemer! I'm an idiot! How the heck did I miss that? The Shadow Fiends weren't taunting her. In fact, if they could, they would have ripped the girl to shreds before the keys had even jingled into her upturned palm. But when she'd opened the truck's door, something else had happened. Something which had saved the little girl's life. The dome light had come on. The shadows couldn't enter the light, so they resigned themselves to clustering around the vehicle. Perhaps they were scheming plans, telepathically communicating attack strategies. Maybe they were simply waiting to see if the dome light would eventually dim and go out. It didn't really matter. What did was that she had time to think. Time to try to find some way out of this mess. Part of her insisted that she should just sit in the truck until morning. Let the rays of the sun drive them away. But what then? Maybe they wouldn't really disappear, but would simply retreat to places still cloaked in darkness. Sewers and attics and cellars. Locations where townsfolk would stumble unwillingly to their demise. No, she had started this entire ordeal, and it was her responsibility to bring it to an end. Glancing in the rearview mirror one more time, Cinder couldn't help but notice the cold gleam in her eye as she turned the key. The engine rumbled to life, and light from the dashboard and stereo brightened the cab even further, causing the ring of shadow fiends to retreat an inch or so. The corner of the girl's lip turned up into a smile lacking mirth as she nodded to her reflection. "Buckle up, sister. We're going to war." So it looks like little Cinder is going to attempt to fight back, but how do you fight back against something like a shadow fiend? Deputy Hendrick's bullets passed right through them. Didn't phase him, didn't hurt him. He still died. Cinder has safe in the light of the truck, but how long did she stay in the truck? What could she do to save her town and ultimately herself? Well, we will find out more tomorrow when we read Chapter 8 of Cinder de la Doom, Summons the Shadow Fiends. Good night.